I never thought I'd be that guy, the one who gets blindsided by infidelity. I always considered my marriage to be solid. Sarah and I had been together for almost a decade, dating for 2 years before tying the knot. We had our moments, sure, what couple doesn't? But overall, I felt we were on the same page. That is, until she said her friend needed a place to stay. Just until he finds a new job, she assured me. I didn't think much of it at first. I knew her friend, Brian, a laid-back guy who was always up for a beer, but we weren't particularly close. He needed a place, and of course I wanted to help, so we offered our guest room. All I asked was that she keep me in the loop if he was going to be around frequently. At first, everything seemed fine. Brian moved in, and on the surface, life continued as normal. But little things began to change. Sarah started coming home later than usual. Work was crazy, she'd say, but I knew something felt off. I'd call her in the evenings, and she would often brush off my calls, claiming she was busy. My gut told me something was amiss, but I brushed it aside. After all, I trusted her, blindly as it turns out. Then came the night that shattered my world. I was working late one evening, wrapping up a project that had consumed most of my week. I decided to surprise Sarah with her favorite takeout on my way home. As I turned the corner onto our street, I noticed a car parked in front of our house that didn't belong to us. A bright red sedan that was definitely not one of our friend's vehicles. My heart raced as I approached, and I could see the flickering light of our living room lamp through the window. With the takeout bag in hand, I walked through the door, expecting to see Sarah lounging on the couch, maybe catching up on some Netflix. Instead, I heard laughter. Not just any laughter, genuine, intimate laughter that belonged to her and someone else. My stomach sank as I moved closer to the guest room. The door was cracked open, and I could see their shadows dancing against the wall. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. There they were, Sarah and Brian, sharing a moment that should have been reserved for us. My heart raced as I stood frozen, the takeout forgotten in my hands. I took a deep breath, mentally preparing myself for the confrontation. I pushed the door open, and there they were, sitting on the edge of the bed, her hand on his knee, both of them mid-laugh. "Sarah!" I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls like a thunderclap. Their heads whipped around to face me, pure shock written across their faces. Brian's eyes darted away while Sarah's expression morphed from surprise to defensive. "What the hell is going on?" I demanded, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and confusion. For a moment the silence was deafening. Then Sarah scrambled to her feet, adjusting her shirt and smoothing her hair as if that would somehow make this all better. "It's not what it looks like," she exclaimed, her voice high-pitched and frantic. "Really? Because it looks like you and your friend are sharing more than just a room," I shot back, feeling the heat rise to my cheeks. "No, we were just talking, I swear," she stammered. "He was helping me with some personal stuff, that's all." "Personal stuff?" I scoffed, disbelief flooding my mind. "Is that what you call it? Please just let me explain," she pleaded, but I was done listening. The betrayal hit like a ton of bricks, and I felt my world shatter around me. In that moment I realized this was just the beginning of a long, painful path. As she started to spin her web of excuses, my heart began to harden. I had trusted her, and now I felt like an idiot. What started as concern turned into a storm of emotions. Anger, confusion, betrayal, and a deep-seated sadness I never knew I could feel. I didn't know what to think, and I certainly didn't know what to do next. But one thing was clear: this wasn't just a small issue, it was an outright affair. I needed to come up with a plan. I needed to figure out how to deal with this sudden betrayal, and more importantly, how I would respond. Did I try to salvage what was left, or would I seek revenge? The seed of revenge was planted deep within me, as I replayed every moment leading up to this revelation. The laughter, the late nights, the constant excuses. I felt rage bubbling inside me, and I knew it was time to take action. If you want to know how I planned to get back at her and what came next, just let me know. After that night, everything changed. I was a walking ghost in my own home, moving through the motions like someone trapped in a bad dream. Sarah was full of apologies and promises, but her words felt hollow. I couldn't look at her without feeling a surge of anger and betrayal. The woman I loved had shattered my trust, and I was left picking up the pieces of my heart while she played the victim. I spent the next few days in emotional limbo. The initial shock morphed into a simmering anger, and I started to plot my revenge. I wouldn't just let this slide. I deserved more than that. My mind raced as I considered my options, weighing them like a chess player anticipating my next move. The first step was to gather evidence. I knew Sarah was good at lying, and I needed something solid to confront her with. I began to take note of everything: her texts, her phone calls, the little moments that seemed off. I didn't want to jump to conclusions again without proof. I'd been fooled once. I wasn't going to let it happen again. I started to follow her discreetly, of course. It felt wrong, like I was invading her privacy, but I had to know the truth. One afternoon, I followed her after she claimed she was going to run errands. Instead, she drove a few blocks away to a cafe that I knew was a favorite spot of hers and Brian's. I parked down the street, heart pounding, and watched as she entered with a huge smile on her face. It was the kind of smile that wasn't meant for me. They sat together at a small table outside, sipping coffee and laughing like they were the only two people in the world. My blood boiled as I watched them, and I fought the urge to storm over and confront them. Instead, I pulled out my phone and snapped a few pictures. I wanted to remember this moment, this betrayal, so I could confront her later with undeniable proof. As they chatted, I couldn't help but hear snippets of their conversation. It felt like someone was twisting a knife in my gut. They were reminiscing about their childhood, shared jokes, and plans for the future. Plans that didn't include me. My stomach turned at the thought of my wife sharing intimate moments with another man while I was at home wondering where she was. After what felt like an eternity, I drove home, my mind racing with thoughts of revenge. I wanted her to feel the pain she had caused me. I wanted her to know that I wasn't going to be the one left heartbroken and humiliated. But how? I knew I had to be clever about it. It couldn't be a reckless outburst. It had to be calculated. That night, I sat down and crafted a plan. I would gather more evidence and then confront her with it all. I would expose the affair not just to her, but to everyone in our lives. If she thought she could betray me and get away with it, she was sorely mistaken. The following week, I continued my surveillance. I set up a fake social media profile to reach out to Brian anonymously. I pretended to be someone else, someone interested in getting to know him, and I learned that he was just as clueless as I'd hoped. He had no idea that I was watching, and I dug deeper, fishing for information about how long the affair had been going on. By the time I finally confronted Sarah, I had amassed enough evidence to sink both of them. I was ready for the showdown, my heart racing with anticipation of what was to come. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to see the facade of our perfect life crumble before her eyes. When the day finally arrived, I felt a mix of dread and exhilaration. Sarah was home early, and I knew this was the moment. I had everything lined up: the pictures, the messages, everything I needed to tear her world apart. I called her into the living room, my heart pounding as she walked in, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. "Sarah," I said, my voice steady, despite the chaos in my mind. "We need to talk." She looked up, her brows furrowing, and for a split second I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. She must have sensed that something was off. "Is everything okay?" she asked, feigning innocence. "Not even close," I replied, my voice low but firm. "I know about Brian." Her face paled, and I could see her scrambling for an excuse, but I wasn't going to give her a chance. I pulled out the photos I had taken and tossed them onto the coffee table, letting them scatter like the pieces of my shattered heart. "Care to explain?" I asked, crossing my arms, feeling the adrenaline surge through me as she grasped for words, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. I watched as she processed the evidence, and in that moment, I felt a sense of power that I hadn't experienced since this whole nightmare began. She finally had to confront the reality of her choices, and as I stood there, I felt an odd mix of sadness and triumph. But as she began to talk, to weave her lies and excuses, I realized that this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about the truth of who we were, what we had built together, and how quickly it could all come crashing down. If you want to see how the confrontation unfolds and what happens next, just let me know. As I stood there, watching Sarah sift through the chaos of the evidence I had laid out before her, I felt a surge of emotions, anger, hurt, but also an undeniable sense of empowerment. This moment had been building for weeks, the tension coiling tightly within me like a spring ready to snap. "Please, Mark," she started, her voice shaky. "Let me explain." "Explain what?" I argued, struggling to keep my voice steady. "Explain how you've been sleeping with my so-called friend. Explain how you've been lying to my face for weeks. What's left to explain?" She opened her mouth, searching for words, but nothing came out. Instead, she looked down at the photos scattered on the table, her face a mix of shame and defiance. I felt a flicker of satisfaction. She was cornered now, and I was ready to take her down a notch. "It's not what you think," she finally blurted out, desperation creeping into her voice. "Brian and we were just talking. It was a weak moment. I swear it didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything," I echoed, incredulous. "You think I'm going to buy that? You let him sleep in our home, in our guest room. Do you think I'm that naive?" "I wasn't thinking straight, okay?" she protested, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You've been so busy with work I felt alone. Brian was just someone to talk to. It was emotional support, nothing more." Emotional support. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So that was her justification for betraying me. It felt like a slap in the face. "Emotional support," I scoffed. "You could have come to me, you could have talked to me instead of jumping into bed with someone else." She looked at me, her expression shifting from defiance to genuine sorrow. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Mark. I honestly thought I could keep it separate." "Separate?" I laughed bitterly. "You can't compartmentalize cheating. You can't have an affair and expect your husband not to notice." At this point, I could see she was starting to realize the gravity of her actions. The bravado faded, and she hung her head, the weight of her guilt finally settling. I wished I could revel in this moment more, but the anger in my chest was still simmering, and all I could feel was a deep sadness creeping in. "I can't believe you," I said, my voice lower now, filled with disappointment. "You've lied to me for so long, you've destroyed everything we built together." "I know, I'm so sorry," she cried, her hands trembling as she reached out to me. "I'll do anything to make it right. We can fix this, I promise." "Fix this?" I repeated, shaking my head in disbelief. "How do you fix betrayal? How do you fix the fact that you've shared your body with someone else? What do you think I should do with that?" As I stood there, feeling the tears welling up in my eyes, my mind began to shift. I didn't want to burst into rage or scream at her anymore. I wanted to understand what had gone wrong. We had been through so much together. How had we ended up here? "Tell me, Sarah," I said, my voice steady but pained. "What was missing in our marriage that led you to this?" She hesitated, and for a moment I thought she might finally be honest with me. "You've been so focused on your job, and I felt like I couldn't reach you anymore," she said, her voice softer, almost pleading. "It was like I was alone in this relationship, and Brian, he was just there. He listened when I felt like you were." I took a deep breath, grappling with her words. Maybe there had been a kernel of truth to her claims. I had been working long hours, often skipping our date nights and missing out on quality time. But that didn't excuse her actions. What she had done was unforgivable. "You can't just justify cheating because you felt lonely," I replied, my voice steadied by resolve. "That's not how relationships work. You communicate, you express your needs, you don't just throw it all away for a quick fix." I know that now," she pleaded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I wish I could take it all back. I never wanted to hurt you. I love you. Do you?" I asked, my heart aching as I saw the woman I once loved crumble in front of me. "Because love doesn't look like this. Love doesn't involve betrayal and deceit. I don't know if we can come back from this." Her face fell at my words, and I felt a pang of guilt for the pain I was causing her, but I couldn't let my compassion for her cloud my judgment. I had to think about what was best for me now. "I need space," I said finally, my voice firm. "I can't even look at you right now. I don't know what to think or feel. You need to figure out what you want, and I need to figure out if I can ever trust you again." With those words, I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her in the wreckage of our relationship. The betrayal felt like a weight on my chest, suffocating and heavy. I grabbed my car keys and stepped out into the night air, needing to escape the chaos of our shattered life. As I drove aimlessly, I felt lost. I didn't want to go home, but I didn't know where else to turn. The anger swirled within me, mingling with heartbreak and confusion. But one thing was clear: I couldn't let this define me. I had to reclaim my life, my dignity, and my happiness. This was not the end of my story. It was merely a chapter, albeit a painful one. If you want to hear how I began to rebuild my life and the consequences of Sarah's actions, let me know. After that night of confrontation, everything felt surreal. I spent the next few days in a haze, doing my best to navigate the storm of emotions swirling inside me. I didn't go home. Instead, I crashed at a friend's place, desperate for the comfort of familiarity and the distance from the woman who had shattered my trust. My friend Jake was supportive but didn't push me to divulge the details. I appreciated that. I needed space to process what had happened. During those few days away, I reflected on my marriage and the cracks that had formed over the years. I had become so entrenched in my work that I had neglected the most important part of my life, my relationship with Sarah. But that didn't excuse her betrayal. As I mulled over the situation, I made a list of my options. I could either stay and try to salvage what we had, or I could walk away for good. The thought of walking away was terrifying. It meant uprooting everything I knew. Our once happy home, the life we had built together, our dreams for the future, all of it felt like it could collapse at any moment. Yet I also realized that staying could mean living in a constant state of distrust, and I wasn't sure I could handle that. With every passing hour, my resolve to find closure grew stronger. I couldn't go on like this, teetering between the past and the unknown future. I decided to return home and face Sarah head-on, not to reconcile just yet, but to talk about what our next steps would be, together or apart. As I entered our house, the silence was deafening. It still smelled like her perfume, and the reminders of our life together prickled at my heart. I found her sitting at the kitchen table, her eyes red and puffy from crying. She looked up when she heard me enter and quickly wiped her tears, but the damage was already done. The sight of her brought a fresh wave of hurt crashing over me. "I'm glad you came back," she said, her voice tremulous. "I didn't come back to discuss our love life," I replied, my tone colder than intended. "We need to talk about what happens next." "Okay," she said softly, her gaze dropping to the table. "I'll do anything you want." "Anything?" I challenged, "because I need you to be honest, no more lies, just the truth." She nodded, swallowing hard. "I promise, just please don't leave me." I took a deep breath. "I'm not here to make any immediate decisions. I need to understand everything. How long has this been going on? How could you do this to me?" She hesitated, as if searching for the right words. "It started a couple of months ago. I thought I could keep it from you, that it wouldn't go too far, but it did. I never meant to hurt you, it just happened. I felt so alone, and Brian, he was there when I needed someone." "Alone?" I interjected, my voice rising. "What about all the times I was there for you? The late nights I sacrificed for our bills, the weekends I spent working instead of being with you. I thought we were a team." I know," she exclaimed, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I messed up. I was so caught up in my own feelings that I didn't even see you anymore. I thought I could find comfort somewhere else, and it just spiraled out of control." Her confession hurt, but it also gave me insight into her mindset. She had felt neglected, something I hadn't fully grasped until that moment. But this didn't excuse her actions, and it certainly didn't erase the pain she had caused. "I don't know if I can trust you again, Sarah," I said, my heart heavy with the implications of my words. This is going to take time." "I understand," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't think about how this would affect you, how this would tear us apart. I see that now. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to fix this." "What does that even mean?" I asked, frustration creeping back in. "How do I know you won't just fall back into the same patterns? Trust isn't something that can be easily rebuilt. Can we go to counseling?" she suggested, desperation etched across her face. "I'm willing to do the work. I'll even cut off all contact with Brian, I promise. I'll do anything to prove to you that I'm serious about making this right." The idea of counseling made sense. It wasn't a silver bullet, but it could be a step in the right direction. "I'll think about it," I replied cautiously. "But you need to understand that this is going to be a long, difficult road." "I get it," she said, nodding earnestly. "I'm here for the long haul, I promise." That night I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, wrestling with the whirlwind of emotions inside me. I felt both relieved and terrified at the same time. The conversation had been a step, but it was only the beginning. I needed to safeguard my heart while also keeping the door open for potential healing. The following weeks were tense. We returned to a sort of normalcy, but it was far from the blissful life we'd once shared. Our evenings were filled with awkward silence, but we also began attending counseling sessions together. The therapist helped us untangle the web of emotions and miscommunication that had built up over the years. Sarah was making an effort to rebuild trust, and I found myself slowly opening up. We talked about our needs, our desires, and the distance that had grown between us. But every time we discussed the affair, I felt the familiar pang of betrayal clawing at my heart. Despite everything, there was something in me that wanted to forgive her. I realized that my anger was rooted in love. I didn't want to lose her completely. I wanted the happy couple we had always been, but could we ever return to that place? As the days turned into weeks, I found myself at a crossroads. The tension was still there, but so was a flicker of hope. I could see changes in Sarah, and I began to wonder if we could work through this together. But then again, could I truly trust her again after everything that happened? If you want to see how the story unfolds from here and where we ultimately end up, just let me know. As the weeks passed, the emotional roller coaster continued. Our counseling sessions became a regular part of our lives, and while the sessions offered some clarity, they also dredged up painful memories. Each time we talked about the affair, I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I desperately wanted to move forward but couldn't shake the image of Sarah with Brian from my mind. One evening, after a particularly intense counseling session, we returned home feeling drained. We sat in silence at the dinner table, the weight of the unspoken words hanging heavily between us. "Do you think it's working?" Sarah finally broke the silence, her voice tentative. "I don't know," I said honestly, pushing the food around on my plate. "I want to believe it is, but it's hard. I still have so many questions swirling in my head. Can we really come back from this?" She nodded slowly, her eyes showing the hurt she still felt from my rejection, but I was still grappling with my feelings. "I want to be better for you, for us," she said, her voice cracking. "I'll do whatever it takes. I know you say that, but it's going to take time for me to trust you again. Trust is fragile and you've broken it," I replied, my tone firm. "I need you to understand that rebuilding isn't just about what you say, it's also about how you act." "I get that," she said, her hands trembling slightly. "I've cut off contact with Brian completely. I don't want anyone else but you. I hope that shows you I'm serious about this." "Actions speak louder than words," I responded, trying to keep my tone even. "I need to see that you mean it." Days turned into weeks, and slowly I saw changes in Sarah. She was more present, more engaged, and I felt a flicker of hope start to blossom within me. We began to communicate better, sharing our feelings and frustrations in a way we hadn't in years. But every time I felt a glimmer of happiness, the shadow of betrayal crept back in, reminding me of the broken trust that loomed above us like a dark cloud. Then one night, as I was winding down after a long day at work, I received an unexpected message, an anonymous text from an unknown number. "I hope you're not falling for her lies. She's back with Brian." My heart dropped. The words felt like a punch to the gut, and I sat there staring at the screen, trying to process what I had just read. I thought back to all the progress we had made, and doubt crept in like a thief in the night. Had she really cut ties with Brian? Or had it all been a ruse to keep me around while she pursued both of them? I took a deep breath and decided to confront her, but this time I needed proof. I started to dig deeper. I examined our phone records, looked at shared accounts, and paid closer attention to her behavior. What if she was still lying? A few nights later, I noticed her getting texts late at night. She would quickly put her phone down and act nonchalant, but I could see the guilt in her eyes. My heart raced as I decided to confront her again, but this time I needed to be armed with evidence. During our next counseling session, I decided to voice my concerns. "I feel like there's still a lack of transparency," I told the therapist, my voice steady. "I've been getting messages that raise alarms for me. I want to believe Sarah, but trust is hard to rebuild. I need to ask her directly about the late-night texts." Sarah's face paled and she glanced down at her hands, her fingers fidgeting nervously. Mark, please believe me. I'm trying. I really am. Are you? I pressed, feeling a mix of frustration and hurt, because I need to feel secure in this relationship. I don't want to feel like I'm constantly watching my back. If there's anything going on, I need you to be honest. I swear to you there's nothing going on, she insisted, her voice rising slightly. I'm committed to this to us. I don't want anyone else. I'm trying to prove that to you. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. Then let's move forward and be open with each other. I don't want secrets. If you're truly committed to making this work, let's do it together. The therapist nodded, sensing the tension. It's important to establish transparency if you want to rebuild trust. Maybe you can set some boundaries regarding privacy while ensuring that both of you feel secure in this journey. As we left the session, I felt a sense of hope creeping back in, but doubt still flickered at the edges of my mind. That night after Sarah went to bed, I made the decision to check her phone. I knew it was a violation of trust, but I felt desperate to find out the truth. As I scrolled through her messages, my heart raced. I found a few texts from Brian, innocent enough on the surface, but they were intimate. Miss you, can't stop thinking about you, and a few emojis that made my stomach turn. I felt a rush of anger surge through my body. How could she say she was committed to me while still engaging with him? I was ready to explode. I put the phone down and took a few deep breaths, trying to keep my cool. I wanted to approach this rationally, but the betrayal felt fresh and raw, like a wound that would never heal. The next morning, as the sun streamed through the window, I decided to confront her again. I walked into the kitchen, where she was making coffee, my heart pounding. "Sarah, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but filled with tension. "What's wrong?" she asked, looking up with concern. I took a breath, bracing for the storm. "I went through your messages last night. I saw texts from Brian. Why are you still communicating with him if you say you're done?" Her face paled and I could see the guilt washing over her. "Mark, don't give me excuses," I interrupted, my frustration boiling over. "You told me you cut him off. You said you were committed to us, but this says otherwise. How can I trust anything you say?" She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. I could see the realization hit her, the walls she had built around her crumbling as I laid it all out. "Mark, I'm sorry," she finally whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. "I didn't want to hurt you again. I thought we were moving forward." "Moving forward," I exclaimed, the anger rising once more. "You can't expect to move forward while keeping the door open to the past. This is just about us anymore. It's about your choices. You have to take responsibility." "I will," she insisted, her voice shaking. "I'll block him. I'll do whatever it takes. Please don't give up on me." As she begged, I felt something in me shift. I was angry, but deep down, I also felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could still work through this, but it would take more than promises. It would require commitment from both of us, and I needed to see that commitment in action. "I can't promise that I won't walk away," I said, my voice steady. "But if you're willing to cut ties with him and prove to me that you truly want to make this work, then I will give you another chance." "I swear," she said earnestly, her eyes searching mine. "I'll do it, no more lies." As I stood there, watching her break down, I felt a mix of emotions. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I was willing to walk it if she was truly committed to change. With every ounce of my being, I hoped that we could find our way back to each other again, but I knew it would require hard work and a willingness to confront the demons that had plagued our relationship. If you want to see how this next chapter unfolds and what choices we made next, just let me know. The days that followed the confrontation felt like a strange mix of tension and tentative hope. Sarah was adamant about making changes. She blocked Brian on all social media and even deleted his number, a gesture that felt small but meant a lot to me. Each day we went through the motions of rebuilding, attending counseling and having deeper conversations about our feelings and fears. I was still wary, and every time her phone buzzed, my heart raced with anxiety. But Sarah seemed genuinely committed to proving herself. She was more present, more engaged, and it felt like we were slowly finding our way back to each other. Yet, the shadow of betrayal lingered, and I knew it would take time for me to fully trust her again. One evening, after a long day at work, I came home to find Sarah waiting for me, a nervous energy radiating off her. She was fidgeting with her hair a habit I recognized from the early days of our relationship. "Hey, I wanted to talk," she said, her voice slightly shaky. "About?" I replied, bracing myself for another emotional discussion. "About us," she said, taking a deep breath. "I know I've messed up and I want to show you that I can change. I've been thinking about how we can rebuild our relationship in a way that feels safe for both of us." I nodded, intrigued by her sincerity. "What do you have in mind?" "I think we should establish some ground rules," she suggested. "Things we can agree on that will help us rebuild trust, like being transparent about our schedules, sharing our phone passwords, and making sure we have regular check-ins about how we're feeling." "Check-ins?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah," she continued, her eyes earnest. "I want to make sure we're both feeling secure and connected. If anything feels off, we talk about it immediately instead of letting it fester." I had never heard her suggest anything like this before, and it felt promising. "That could work," I replied, feeling a glimmer of hope, "but it's going to take consistent effort. Are you ready for that?" "Absolutely," she said, determination flashing in her eyes. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I love you, Mark, and I don't want to lose you. I want us to be better." We spent the next hour discussing our new ground rules. It felt refreshing to be working together instead of against each other. We talked about what made us both feel loved and appreciated, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like we were on the same team. As the days turned into weeks, we gradually settled into a new routine. Our relationship was still fragile, but we were both actively trying to heal the wounds. We developed a habit of sitting down at the end of each week to talk about how we were feeling, what had gone well, and what needed attention. It felt like a lifeline, a way to keep communication open and honest. I still had moments of doubt, of course. Memories of the betrayal would sneak up on me, especially when I saw a text come through on her phone, but each time I reminded myself of our progress and the effort she was putting in. We had weathered storms before, and perhaps we could emerge stronger from this one. One afternoon, as we were lounging on the couch, Sarah turned to me with a smile. "I've been thinking maybe we should plan a weekend getaway, just the two of us, to reconnect and remind ourselves of the love we share." The thought of a getaway intrigued me. That could be a good idea. We could use some time away from everything. As we planned the trip, something shifted within me. I realized I was starting to look forward to the future again. I wanted to create new memories with Sarah to reinforce the foundation of our relationship. The weekend finally came, and we decided to head to a cozy cabin in the woods. The scenery was beautiful and serene, the perfect backdrop for a fresh start. We spent our days hiking, sharing stories, and reminiscing about the beginnings of our relationship. The laughter felt genuine, a sign that we were moving in the right direction. But on our last night there, as we sat by the fire, I felt the urge to address the elephant in the room. "Sarah," I began, my heart racing, "we've made a lot of progress, but I still find myself thinking about what happened. I want to be able to let go of the past, but I need to know that we're truly moving forward." She looked at me, her expression earnest. "I know it's hard, and I don't want you to feel like you have to forget what happened, but I want to show you that I'm here for you. I'm committed to being the partner you deserve." We spent that night talking openly about our fears and hopes for the future. I felt lighter, more at peace, as we laid the groundwork for a renewed relationship. It wouldn't be perfect, and I knew there would still be challenges ahead, but I felt a strong sense of determination to make it work. In the end, I learned that love isn't just about passion and happiness. It's also about resilience, forgiveness, and the willingness to fight for what you believe in. It was a long and difficult journey, but as we left the cabin and headed back to reality, I felt a renewed sense of hope. I couldn't predict the future, but I knew that as long as we kept communicating, working together, and being honest, we might just have a chance to build a stronger, more honest love than before. This experience changed me. I learned that trust is not given lightly, but it can be rebuilt with effort and commitment. I was becoming a better partner and ultimately a better version of myself. I think that's a lesson worth holding on to.